Master Chief Retired Joe Bridges.
I too was shocked, but definitely pleased when Charles called me a few months back and asked me if I would attend his retirement ceremony. And then he informed me that he wanted me to be his guest speaker. I've never been a guest speaker at a retirement ceremony before. In fact, I've never been a guest speaker at any function. So it's a new experience. You sign my PQS off after this. I'll try to do a good job for it. I want to keep this brief because I know we all have things to do after this ceremony is over. So, Master Chief Landers was born to W.J. and Eunice Landers in Monroe, Georgia on January 22nd of 1964. So it goes back a couple of years. He was the youngest of 9 children. He shares a birthday with some famous folks. He might not even know this. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke. Linda Blair, of Exorcist fame. And Ronway Corrigan, who I had heard of in the past but had forgotten about. He was a famous naval aviator who had a tendency to go the wrong way. But he managed to get where he was going. The #1 R&B song of 1964. It's In His Kiss. That'll come up later.
Yeah.
Now, the average price of a gallon of gasoline back in those days was 27 cents. Those days again. Average house price was around $13,000. The average median wage was about $6,000. So let's fast forward a little bit. This is also, the same year that the Vietnam conflict actually became a war. So let's fast forward to 1982 when Charles entered the Naval Service. Average price of gasoline at that time had shot up to 91 cents a gallon. That's much better than what we have today. The median price of a house was around $82,000. And the average yearly wage was about $21,000. They didn't pay you $21,000 when you came in, did they?
No.
No, I wasn't.
Not much. It's $20.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan was president, and pride in our uniformed services was at an all-time high, and it continues to be there today. Now let's jump forward a little bit again to 1988, and here's where It's In His Kiss comes into play, because that's when Charles met the lovely Elsa. And they married and have 2 lovely sons, Leon, who was born in 1989, and Anthony Fall in 1993. I first met Charles when he was first class petty officer stationed on board the USS Independence. I arrived in the spring of 1996, and the ship was already in high tempo ops, and we were on our way to go do great things around the world. We had a very un-PC patch in those days. It was a depiction of an older lady in garters, sans top, and the caption underneath says, "She may be old, but she still puts out." And did we ever. We steamed that ship around the world to the Persian Gulf, not once, but twice. And we did it all the way from Japan to Bahrain in 11 days in that steamer. Now I could go in and tell you numerous sea stories, case 3 ops, but the beer's cold and time is short, so we carry on. After Master Chief Landers finished his tour there on board the Independence and crossed over to the Kitty Hawk, he went on to NAF Fallon, where he was the leading chief petty officer. But we stayed in touch. I transferred and went to AirPac. I was the quality assurance and inspector there for all the West Coast carriers. So I had occasion to come back and inspect the Kitty Hawk there in Japan, and I always made it a habit to stop in and see my brother. And then in 2002, I had the opportunity to serve with Charles again before deployed naval force in Yokosuka on USS Kitty Hawk. We had one more thing to do. This time, Charles was in charge. He built what is undoubtedly the best CATSA team the fleet has ever seen or ever will see, and that's the God's honest truth. Hawk was at the forefront of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and they stuck us all the way up forward. I think that was because they were hoping that they would save some decommissioning dollars. So they put us up front. You could literally see the Iraqi shoreline at some points during our operations. We had two other of our aircraft carriers with us, as well as the British Amphib. So not only was sea space at a premium, but airspace was extremely short. Charles handled it all in a scope manner. Kept his little head at the bottom, made sure that everybody was doing what they were supposed to do and understood the job at hand, and we got through it successfully and without loss of life. Now, one of the things that Charles was really good at doing was building camaraderie. And shortly after I arrived in the spring of 2002, we got together and he decided it'd be a good idea for a team building exercise to take our young crew up to NAF at Sugi and go out on a golf outing.
Here comes the sea story.
I didn't want to bring that up.
Well, it seemed like a really good idea at the time, but unfortunately, some of our junior sailors took it upon themselves to destroy a couple of golf carts in the process. These were brand new golf carts, so they were very proud of them, as well as damage the greens. One of our sailors ended up in custody with the master at arms there, so we had to go bail him out, as well as Charles had to go talk to the golf manager there at the course and assure him that they would make restitution if he would not press charges. So he agreed, and Charles did just that. And it was a long, long ride back to Yokosuka on that bus. You talk about silence. You could have heard a pin drop. We finally got back to the boat. Charles ordered everybody up in the CATSA, and then the interrogations commenced. It took a few hours. They finally fessed up. And Charles was true to his word. The guilty parties had to make restitution, and then the incident was put aside. And he didn't hold any grudges against them. And that taught the team that this is a man to be trusted. This is the chief, at that time senior chief, soon to be master chief, who would stand behind his men, even if it meant putting his own neck out on the line. During our tenure together, I was afforded the great honor and privilege of pinning my brother of another mother, we affectionately call each other, not once, not twice, but 3 times, chief, senior chief, and finally, and most considerably, Master Chief Petty Officer. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it gives me great pleasure in presenting Air Controller Master Chief, Air Warfare, Surface Warfare, Charles L. Landers, my brother.